turn the music. Okay, I'm welcoming you here to the 15th or 16th or 17th or 18th Brunswick building open house. And I'll be the hostess because I've been in the building the longest. I've been working here since 1979. When my friends Linda Bachmeister and Bob Strini, who were both artists, purchased the building and kind of rescued it from deteriorating, which is wonderful of them. So it's been an artist studio since 1979, and I used to be the manager, and 7 years ago, Max Gilliam, my husband, and I purchased the building to make sure that it stayed studios, and for me to make sure I had a fabulous studio to continue working. There was a little bit of a selfish motivation there. But it's been really good being part of the artist community like this. And I'd say this is probably the 6th or 7th year that we have decided to do performances as part of the general open house. And I just want to tell you that after these are over, some of the artists will still have their rooms open. So if you haven't been upstairs, there's 4 studios upstairs, and there's a studio on the corner that has 2 artists. You'll have an opportunity, if they decide to stay open a little longer, to check their stuff out. If you miss them tonight or you're going home right away and you haven't seen it, come back tomorrow. We're open from 11 to 4. And I just want to say this is kind of amateur hour. None of us in our performances are planning to appear at Carnegie Hall. We feel like this is a safe environment to perhaps show you a side of our creative ability that you don't normally see. So the tolerance is appreciated. So I'm going to begin mine. And Maxie, don't turn it on quite yet. And I should say, I especially appreciate tolerance for mine because I usually put mine together literally in the day before the open house. So, in 1957, my family was transferred from Wilmington, Delaware to Abadan, Iran. At that time, the family consisted of my parents and my 3 younger siblings. I had never before traveled further than the Chesapeake Bay. My father was a chemical engineer. He worked for the Abadan oil refinery, which at that time was the largest in the world. Abadan was a small city composed of native Iranians and a large group of residents, Europeans and Americans both. I was 7 years old when I arrived. During the 4 summers that we lived in Iran, my mother, who is in this photograph, would take us children to Europe to escape the heat. It is significant that on these trips we stayed in hotels. And that's me with my sister Robin and my brother Paul and my brother Chris. And I should say, all 4 slides that you're seeing were taken by my father, who really initiated my interest in photography. I think he was a really good photographer. So next slide, please. Chicken Coop Hotel. In Abadan, my family lived at SQ 383, a flat which had been built by the British in the 1920s. We had a large yard in front of the house, planted beautifully with flowers and older trees. In the back of the property was an equally large vegetable garden. This garden provided all of the fresh produce for our family. It was irrigated by an intricate system of small canals that had been constructed by our gardener, Allie. In the midst of this garden was an abandoned chicken coop. When I climbed up on top of our garage, which was at the end of a long driveway, I could look out onto the vegetable garden and see the chicken coop. It had a rather forlorn appearance. This chicken coop was made of rusty corrugated metal and chicken wire. It had the air of abandoned chickens. What you need to know is that it measured 8 feet tall, 8 feet long, and 5 feet wide. One afternoon when I was 9 years old, next slide please. When I was 9 years old, I came up with the notion that the chicken coop would make a fabulous hotel. This was not a short-lived idea. The concept came to grow in my mind. I spent a lot of time drawing diagrams with pencil and paper of the coop itself and the shelves that I would need to install for the bunks for the 4 or 5 people I planned to accommodate in my hotel. There was a little problem of space and possible ambiance, but I did not pay any attention to that. When I was up on top of our garage, I could observe my potential hotel, look down on it with fondness in the middle of the bean poles and the carrots. I never had a chance to remodel the chicken coop. Later that year, we moved to Tehran, and I began to think instead about an intricate water fountain that I would put in the undeveloped front yard of our brand new home. Now, I'm going to extemporaneously tell you this next story. Okay, next slide, please. So during the same period of time when we were in Abadan, just flick it.
Forget it, we just have to see this.
So we belonged to a boat club in Abadan, and this was the big social life for all the Europeans and the Americans, was around racing these little sailboats on the river between Iran and Iraq. And there was a bar, and there was beautiful gardens, and there was lots of things. There were lots of kids, so it was a great place to go. And the American community wanting to celebrate July 4th really had no outlet because there was almost no American community. There might have been 100 Americans. And so what we did is on July 4th, there were celebrations at the boat club that the British and French and other people were allowed to participate in as well. And this particular year, it was probably 1959, my family went to the boat club. We were there, and there were a lot of little events organized for the children. Among them, a series of, like races and things that you could win prizes for. And I heard that there would be a three-legged race. And I don't know whether all of you in the audience here are familiar with three-legged races, but basically what you're doing is you have a partner and a joint leg is tied together. And so when I heard that, and the fact that we would each win a 100 real prize, first place winners, I went to my partner, who was named Tamara Mason, who was a girl my age, and I said, I think if we really practice, let's go and practice this over in the shrubbery. We're going to use a handkerchief and tie our legs together. And fortunately, I was really lucky. She didn't tell me I was stupid. She said, okay. So we went over off on our little side, and we practiced several times. Didn't tell anybody about it. And then when they called the race, we went up to the starting line, and there were about 20 kids, and everybody was paired up, and it was girls and boys. And so the starting gun went off, and the next thing we knew, 5 seconds later, we were at the finish line. And we turned around and looked, and everyone else was falling over. And so for me, that was an early triumph. It was really, really very important. I'm thrilled that my father took a slide that actually documents this particular situation. That's me, and there's Tamara, and we both got our 100 reals and our American
That is just so delightful.
So I guess what I would like to say, this is very short, but for me, both the memory of the Chicken Coop Hotel and the memory of the three-legged race gives me some access to who I was back almost 50 years ago. And I have fond memories of Iran, and it's kind of a nice way to realize that who I am now had seeds of some of those things at that time, because I remember them. So it's nice to be able to share it with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perez, who is a photographer and has had a studio here at the Brunswick for 4 years. And she has recently published a book. We worked with Kinko's to produce a small-scale book. The edition size is 50. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about the process that went into preparing for this.
Maybe. I don't know, your performance kind of makes it difficult to follow through. But at least I can't focus well, so I can't see who's there.
There's only 2 people.
Oh, good. Stabbin and Max, no problem. Okay, I'm going to get serious now. I love taking photographs. And I've done it all my life, as far back as I can remember, like Stavern when I was a young girl. I remember going through Life magazine and seeing a series of photographs of this couple, and they were heroin addicts. I don't know if anyone else remembers that, other than Raphael. But they were junkies. But it was a great photographic series that really took me in. I loved the photographs. I loved the story told without having to read a thing. And I knew then and there that I wanted to take photographs. So, I was pretty young then. And I moved on from there to always wanted to take photographs. So we moved to New Orleans, and I loved that city because it was so visually captivating, and I loved taking photographs, so that's what I would do. And I went on to decide out of high school to go to college to study fine art photography, not journalistic. I really wanted to do fine art photography due to the fact that I had become aware of Alfred Stieglitz, who was one of the first way back then, and I learned about gum prints. Gum Arabic is a photographic process, probably one of the first processes backed by the daguerreotype. And I found a school where I could go and learn this. Before going to college and finishing, I did go to some workshops in photography. One year I went to Aspen, Colorado, to the Center of the Eye, which was one of the first photo workshop places available. And I had classes from Gary Winogrand, who I don't know if you know, he's no longer alive, Henry Cartier-Bresson, certainly more famous. I'm losing track. But, it was just being there, taking photographs, and great photographers looking at your photographs, talking to them about their photographs was truly inspirational. I went on from there to Ohio University because there were only 2 schools teaching fine art photography. One was Ohio University, and the other was Chicago. And I was lucky enough to have a father who would send me where I wanted to go, and that's where I went and studied photography in fine art. And I learned how to, I had my own darkroom there. I learned how to take pictures according to how you're supposed to do it. How to work cameras, various sizes from 4x5s to 35 millimeter. And I learned about gum prints. So I graduated from there, the fine art photography, and I knew what I really wanted to pursue as life went on was gum prints. I don't know where I'm going with this story, who does? But I'll keep trying. Anyway, I did move back to New Orleans, where I had been growing up until I went to college, and it happened to be where I met this man, Bruce, who I ended up still with. And we moved on out of the city to Pearlington, Mississippi, where Bruce was busy working as a carpenter, And I would wander the city just taking pictures because I see everything as a photograph, but not in a judgmental way. I didn't want to say, oh, well, I'm going to go take a picture of the blacks, or, oh, I'm going to go show what it's like to be. It's just not in me. I just love taking photographs, and I see everything as a photograph. So I would wander around Burlington and had some great experiences with folks on the black side of town, where of course I wanted to take photographs and made some good friends. And I went from Burlington, I guess we moved on.
Montana.
We moved to Montana, and we wanted to be as close as possible to Glacier Park. So here we are in Missoula, and Bruce could find work, and it turns out I had already had one child down south with a midwife, and I wanted to find midwives, and they had them in Missoula. So my second child was born here with a midwife. I'm very grateful to say. Anyway, the thing that attracted me the most with 4 children and life going on were powwows. I could always get to Arlie, to the powwow, and photograph there. I'm very attracted to that. Anyway, so I have this book put together by, thanks to a grant, I think it's the Prop Grant, and some very dear friends who helped put it together, and Stavern or Leslie being one of those, I must say, and I've got their names in the back, thanking them, because it became clear to me that my photographs were not only loved or seen by me, but other people also saw them. And it turns out, after getting all these wonderful photographs and keeping negatives forever, and waiting for kids to get old enough for me to get in a studio and start doing whatever it is I could do with my photographs, I ended up finding out I have a problem called MS. And so I can hardly visually see, I can't walk very well, and I've had to give up the idea of photography. And that hurts a lot because I still see, as well as I can see anymore, everything as a photograph. And I do have hundreds of negatives from the last, 40 years. And I do have these wonderful glass plates that were my great-grandfather. And to do gum prints, if anyone is familiar with the gum arabic process, you're making your own emulsion with potassium dichromate, gum arabic, and watercolor, whatever color you want, painting that onto paper, which you then, once it dries, you can expose it with a contact print. So you need your negatives, however big it is you're trying to make the print, and expose it to ultraviolet light, sunlight in Missoula. But you can, and it's developed in water, and you can emulse it as many times as you want with whatever colors or such. And that's what I'd like to pursue now, because it's what I've always wanted to do. And I think I can take portraits, if anyone were interested, and make a gum print of it. That's my new idea for carrying on in life with photographs, since it's what I've always wanted to do. So I can do that, and I'm not letting MS take me over.
Bravo.
Trying.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Has been put together, and
The book.
I'd like to get to know this person. I'm really impressed by it, and they are for sale. And
Yeah, if you're interested in purchasing one or looking at one, we have a shop copy that you can look at.
absolutely,
Yeah, and
and someday you can say, I remember talking to her, and her photographs were great.
I can get her to sign it. If you buy the book tonight, you can get the author to sign it.
Oh, that's right. Even I will scribble my name.
Thanks, Con.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. They do that, they're kind of like in Missoula, and they jump over each other and do a bunch of little moves, and I like it a lot. Yeah, I told them, I said, I was going to try to make it. That's definitely in our respect. I just think it's just real funny and joyful kind of thing. I like it. It's great. Yeah. You don't see it very often. Good. This has been really good.
And I have the pleasure of introducing Christy Hager, who also has a studio here in the building. Her actual working studio is the room next door. These paintings and this wall is her work, if you want to look at it more closely afterwards. And she's fairly well known around Missoula, not only as a visual artist, but also as a performance artist. I don't know if we have a real name for the performance art personality. Call her Hula. Hula woman.
She called Great Rain, I'll tell you what. She called
Yeah, the water saver.
She will be performing the Annunciation Hula Revisited. Yes.
I've got my notes here, but I'm going to try to work out them as much as possible. This is the Annunciation Revisited. Behold, big capital B, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and his name shall be called Emmanuel. Lots of gold and old English flourishes on the Emmanuel. It takes up the whole bottom of the page. I chose this for my sophomore high school calligraphy project. I figured it would double as a Christmas present for my parents, to hang over the mantelpiece. And, they asked me why I chose that particular passage. And there was a little tension in the air, a little sort of awkwardness. And, I really didn't have a good answer for them. But to their credit, they did hang it over the fireplace and put lots of holly and pine boughs around it. But they just really didn't want to look at it. And I could tell. And it wasn't, it took me years to figure out that it was the words virgin and conceive in the same sentence. It made them nervous. Now that didn't bother me. What always confused me was the word Emmanuel. I thought his name was Jesus. It took me a long time to figure that out. But I really after that experience, I really stood clear of religious imagery in my art until I turned about 50, and I found myself doing a painting of the Annunciation.
Ooh.
And I felt kind of awkward trying to explain it to myself, let alone my friends, why I was doing religious paintings. It was really more suspect than the erotic paintings I was doing. And I really didn't know which would trouble my mother more. And I thought, well, I could say, Mom, all good paintings are religious paintings, not just the big ones in Rome, Florence, and Venice, because we all wrestle with truth, and painters happen to do it with gooey, dripping paint, or infinite precision, or lush color, white on white, black on black. And then I could say that all good paintings are erotic. Even the big ones in Rome, Florence, and Venice. I've seen them, and they are full of fleshy ecstasy. Absolutely. But I really felt awkward discussing these new religious paintings with anyone, and I was really reluctant, especially when a friend told me about what happened to him the last time he fell madly in love. He's sitting in the big cemetery in Salt Lake City watching 4th of July fireworks with the woman he is smitten with for the third time. First when she is married, and the second time when she was separated, and finally she's divorced. And so he's gone to Salt Lake to make this work out, whatever it takes. And after years of anticipation, he's really ready. So the evening is just full of promise, and they are just deliriously on fire, and it seems like nothing but green lights. And then she says, I think there's something I need to tell you. Well, he is not worried. I mean, whatever her little confession is, it's not going to be a problem. He is really in love, and it doesn't matter. And so he's telling me this. It's 10 years later, and he's both laughing and melancholy because he's Swedish. and because with this woman's next sentence, she just turned off the fireworks totally. It was the biggest, fastest turn-off he had ever experienced in his life. And I thought, what could that be? So I said, well, this is what she said. I've made a friend of Jesus. He wasn't ready for that. He couldn't get out of there fast enough. And she could have said, I made a friend of the Dalai Lama. Or she could have said, I've made a friend of Bill W. Or I made a friend of George W. It didn't matter. That wouldn't have mattered, but a friend of Jesus, he just couldn't handle. And I'm really doubly disturbed because I knew that I couldn't handle it either, and because I really knew I didn't want to tell him about my new paintings. So I have this other friend who is a very left-wing Green Party social activist intellectual who, in her mid-40s, sells her very hip bookstore in Butte and decides to go to spend 3 years in Lutheran seminary. And, I just couldn't figure it out. And I have friends that went to, sold their bakery and went to, sold their bakery in Butte and went to an ashram in Northern California. That made sense to me. But, Lutheran seminary was really hard to get, and I was concerned for her. And so I didn't get it until I went to her ordination. And she after taking her vows in front of a really stout line of male clergy, she turned to face the congregation and lead the service. And she just opened herself up to be seen and heard. And I just caught a glimpse of what she was undertaking. And it was a very big yes. And when she started to sing the liturgy, the power and pleasure of her voice, in a context where I'd never heard a woman's voice, much less a friend's, it just completely undid me. And I took courage to continue stumbling along with my religious paintings. And but I needed to check in with my lovelorn Swedish friend, because I wanted to know just more precisely, what it was that, just slammed the door on his magic moment. And he said, well, it was the absolute certainty that a friend of Jesus implied. And, absolute certainty is obnoxious. You know how people are when they tell you you're going down the one-way street the wrong way. They know they're right. So absolute certainty is that. But I realized that as far as spiritual matters are concerned, most of my friends would barely admit to being unaffiliated gropers. And, to actually touch something is just very embarrassing. So I think we think we want answers, but answers are troubling, and clarity really destroys our carefully structured illusions. Well, I just thought, when I was doing these paintings, I thought, well, the Renaissance masters, what were they trying to get at? They did the same paintings over and over again. The Annunciation, they did the Adoration, the Ascension, the Assumption, the Lamentation, the Deposition. They all did them. And they were trying to get at something. And the Annunciation was one that always got me, because there was always this really pale young Mary, sort of very demure, bloodless, chastely dressed, alone in her tidy room, being good. And then the Archangel Gabriel was at the window, and he's handing her a lily. And
because her room's clean.
yes. I thought, I want to paint. I couldn't relate to this, so I thought, I want to paint a more mature Mary, a really full body, big breasts, big hips, sitting down naked in the mud. And she doesn't know what hit her, but she knows it's big. And she's not pleased. So I have to figure out where I'm going with this. Well, after I finished the Annunciation painting, I realized that for the better part of 30 years, I had been looking to get pregnant. Except, of course, the times I hadn't been looking to get pregnant. And I realized the biological clock had pretty much stopped, and I was having to come to terms with, not having kids. And in the year of waning hot flashes, I woke up one night and I heard my own voice saying, "Christy, you are always pregnant." And I thought, well, that's interesting. And I thought, well, if in case anybody ever asks again, like at the dentist, they're going to throw that switch on the X-ray machine and they say, "Is there any chance you're pregnant?" Just in case they ever ask again, I just know that I haven't answered for him. Yes, there's a chance. And I don't even feel like I'm lying after I got these messages on my answer machine. And I did write them down. So let me know what you think. This is the first message. Hello, sweetheart. My name is Gabe. You don't know me. I got some good news for you. Are you sitting down? Sit down, because at first it's going to seem like bad news. Sweetheart, you are knocked up. Don't cut me off. This is not a joke. Whatever you're thinking, it's not what you're thinking. Let me continue, because there is a good part. This is tough. It's hard for me to say this, but you are never going to know exactly who you are pregnant with, or how, or why. Try to believe this, though, sweetheart. You are pregnant with the divine spirit.
Why not?
Hello. Did you miss that? That was the good part. I tried to erase that message. Second message. Hi, Gabe again. I don't know if this is the best way to be doing this, leaving the message on your answer machine. But you're busy. I'm busy. Everybody's busy. So I'm using the machines. Nobody picks up anymore. Tell your friends. Don't set the machines to cut me off after a minute. I can't give this kind of news that quick. It's never been easy. Always lots of problems with this message. The virgin birth business. You people still don't get it. 2,000 years ago maybe, but today, who can relate? And the road to Damascus, everybody drives too fast. I call you on your cell phone with this piece of news, you faint, heart attack, whoa. And the Buddha routine, not a bad way to go. It works. But most of you won't sit still for that long, except for tonight. If you do go that route, you get all balled up over reincarnation. Hey, you haven't even figured out incarnation yet. It's so simple. Spirit and flesh, all the same ball of wax. That's it. Call me if you got any questions. 1-800-WHAT NOW? I wondered if this call was traceable and if I wanted to trace it. But I just tried to ignore it. Next message. Hey, it's me again. Where were we? Oh yeah, you're pregnant. Meaning, spirit is always inside you, like a seed. So small you don't know it. You can't see it and you don't know what it's going to look like. But you got to let it grow. If you ignore it, it won't grow. You've been doing a lot of ignoring. You're not alone. But if you keep ignoring, hey, that's just some more ignorance out there. What we are trying to do here is eliminate ignorance. No more ignoring, please. Give the seed a little space, a little attention now and then. It'll grow. Give it a little room of its own. There you go. A room of its own. It's like a little baby. See what happens. Questions, call me. Gabe. Rhymes with babe. 1-800, what now? No, right now I'd like to get this to stop, but I don't know what to do, so I called back. And of course I get his machine. Gabe here, I'm on another line. Leave your name, I got your number. Gabe, I got your message. You can't be serious. So, please, just don't waste my time. I'm turning off my machine. But of course I turn the machine back on. I can't live without that. So, next message. You Lone Rangers are tough. I have to use the machines. You don't go to church or anything that looks too organized. Not many of you are going out in the desert to listen for disembodied voices. Besides, a disembodied voice sets a bad example. What embodied voices are what we want to hear from you people. Well, you talk and you say, I know, but for now I'm stuck with the machines. Just another little paradox. Get used to it. You got any better ideas, call me. Well, he's clearly not giving up. And I mean, I'm beginning to wonder if this is for real. Well, you know, what does it really mean? And well, it doesn't. Whatever. I'm not ready. I'm just next message. Honey, I know you don't want me to call you back, but it's my job. I've been through this before. I've told a lot of people, millions of people. The guys don't like it any better than the girls. It's going to be hard for a while. You're not sure. You're not ready. Too busy. Doesn't matter. It's already happened. I got a lot of other calls to make, so it's up to you now. Take it or leave it. Good luck. Well, you know, I always wanted an unequivocal religious experience, some sort of undeniable vision, a certified message of absolute truth. I really wanted to get this message, I think. But, you know, I expected it would come after sitting cross-legged for months, or maybe for days anyway, and a teacher would walk in and reveal my entire past and foretell my entire future. You know, someone really impressive. And, or maybe some charismatic spirit animal like a bear or an elephant. An elephant would walk beside me on the beach at dawn, and I'd see his ears flap, and I would know that she could hear me. And then she'd pick me up in her trunk, and I'd look into her huge eye, and I would see God. And then she'd put me down on the ground, and I'd kiss her colossal foot, and I would tremble. And then she would slap me in the face with her dung-encrusted tail. And I would be changed. Hallelujah. Isn't that what you want? Yeah. That's what you want. Not this voice. No, but, you know, like my friend in the cemetery on the 4th of July, I really don't want to get very close to absolute certainty. At best, I'm immediately suspicious, and at worst, repelled. I mean, if a person were certain, I just can't quite picture it. This spirit growing inside me, this divine spirit, and perpetually pregnant. You know, that's worse. I think even metaphorically, I'm too old for this. I just don't want this job. I might have to change my life, change my paintings, you know, I'd have to be nice to people. And spirit and flesh, all the same ball of wax. I think that's just some sort of ridiculous oversimplification. You know, I am a Phi Beta Kappa magna cum laude kind of babe, and I don't get it. You know? I just think, I think you've made a mistake. I'm not one of you. I just think you should find somebody else. But thanks for calling. Last message. Okay, where are we with you? Let me get up to speed here. Not ready, too busy, too old, confused, having second thoughts, third thoughts. Okay, now I got it. You're in the thinking phase. Stop thinking. It's not going to give you the answer. Do a little more of the body thing, you know? Wisdom of the flesh. What What is it we got down here for you? Hula. Hula. That's it. Do a little more. Hula. A little less thinking. It could happen. Let it happen. You're on your way, kid. Enjoy. So, I'm still not certain how it works, but I do a hula. I do a hula every day before I paint and when I've been thinking too much and just, whenever the spirit moves. And so you'll have to, don't put it on quite yet. So I'm before you barefoot and possibly pregnant, doing the agnostic hula. And there is a little 8-bar quickie enunciation hula at the bridge. So keep your eyes on the hands. Okay. And this is sung by my friend Judy Fiel, who put this together. And if you know the words, join in. Unmute, a little more volume.
Everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. Think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say you're gone forever, and some say you're gonna come back. Some say you rest in the arms of a Savior if in sinful ways you lack. Some say they're coming back in a garden, bunch of carrots and little sweet peas. Think I'll just let the mystery be. Everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. No one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. Think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say the going's been placed all over, and they ain't saying it ain't a fact. But I've heard that I'm on the road to purgatory, and I don't like the sound of that. I believe in love, and I live my life accordingly. But I choose to let the mystery be. Everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. Think I'll just let the mystery be. Think I'll just let the mystery